Welcome back to Reimagined Energy. Today, you'll hear how talent is shaping the future of clean energy. You'll learn where the biggest skill gaps are, why digital and AI abilities matter more than ever, and how workforce strategy can accelerate electrification, hydrogen, renewables, and more. Get ready for Isaac Hagen of Manpower Group, who's coming up next. Great. Welcome, Isaac. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Well, we know definitely because Manpower Group, you're doing a lot in the energy industry, and it seems to be your company is definitely, you recruit people, right? You work in the industry to solve problems for businesses who are having hiring trouble. That's what I understand. Manpower Group, what you guys do.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe just talk about Manpower Group from a macro perspective. I won't
Yeah.
spend too much time on this, but the numbers are meaningful. Manpower Group's a very large company, $20 billion company. We operate in 75 countries, and we have very significant presence in both the U.S. And Canada. We work with a lot of energy companies, both oil and gas and renewables, and we do a lot of different things for organizations. We help with recruiting, both contingent labor, so think temporary labor, contract labor. We do full-time hiring. Sometimes companies outsource their hiring to us. We call that RPO. We manage contingent labor programs, and then we also help organizations with displaced work. So folks who are going through layoffs or different kinds, we help those individuals as well. So we're really a full end-to-end workforce solutions company. But we have some unique perspectives across the talent life cycle, not just in the United States and Canada, but globally. But my expertise primarily is US and Canada.
Well, let's talk about those unique perspectives that you have. And let's talk about around the shifts, in energy. Like there's electrification that's happening, there is hydrogen, renewable, all of those are being integrated. So, which is resulting in a changing, talent and skills shortage. So, what are you seeing on your end?
Yeah, it's a really exciting time. In the industry. So energy and intelligence is driving a lot of demand. And what I mean by that is the demand for renewable energy, green energy. And then all of a sudden, this demand being driven by AI and the power demand from that. Just some data. We do an annual talent shortage survey. 76% of employers in the US and actually 77% in Canada, the employers are having a hard time finding the talent they need today. So there's already a pretty significant skill shortage. And then to compound that, we've seen really dramatic increases in talent demand, specifically in renewables. So up 11% in Canada. And then when we narrow in on what are the skills, energy and technical skills are up 23% year over year. So we're already talking 70% plus, almost 80% employers can't find the talent they need, double digit, almost 25% increase. And then the last thing that's really important is the skills are changing fairly dramatically. So there's a lot for employers to contend with. And what we're helping employers with is a lot of different strategies on how do you get talent in the door in this really dynamic time where that talent's incredibly scarce and there's high competition.
Yes. From your vantage point, what's the biggest gap that you're seeing right now between the current workforce capabilities and what energy companies will need, let's say, over the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, from my perspective and our perspective, clean energy demand is going to rise faster than labor supply, just purely, right? And it's an important point because the energy infrastructure that needs to be built, it can't be built through automation. It can't be built through robotics. It just simply can't. So the acceleration of renewable energy is really going to be a human, a talent-driven challenge. It's staggering. U.S. demand up 15, 20% by 2030. Canada, I've seen upwards of 47 to 50% just demand in renewable energy. And then engineering tech pipelines growing like 4 to 6%. So we have a pretty dramatic problem and opportunity to solve. The exciting thing is there's the talents out there. It's just the skills aren't yet to a place. So if you're out there looking for folks that have energy experience in the new markets you're going into, you need to think about that differently. You need to think about skills, not resumes, and that's really one of the biggest areas working with the
Well,
organization.
that leads into the next question. Like, how do you help energy organizations attract those professionals who may not have the classic energy background, because renewable energy it's kind of a new era, but but they do have the digital and the AI and the control skills, that are needed. So how do you work that?
Yeah, so a multi-step process. The first thing we recommend really thinking about through a fresh lens or a clean slate is what skills do you really need? Like really simply, what skills do you need? And do they have to have the energy expertise around them, or are they just a technical skill? And I have a lot of really fun stories around this, but that's number one. Number two is your unique value proposition. So what is it about your organization or what you're doing for the world that is meaningful? And I say that because the global data is staggering. 60% of people working are pretty dissatisfied with their work, which is, it's a pretty staggering statistic, but it's been a difficult environment over the last few years. But that's a nice opportunity. What people want is meaningful work. What they want is to learn new skills. What they want is to be supported by their leadership. So if you look at your organizational structure, strategy, and hiring focus, can you shift and focus on skills, not resumes, attract new populations of talent to your organization? And organizations that we've been working with that do that all of a sudden don't have any open recs. They see new talent pools that they've never seen before. And those talent pools tend to compound because people, refer other people to come work for a great
Yeah.
organization.
I'm also going to add, coachability as well. I mean, and the willingness to learn, from the candidate as well. It's
Yeah,
important.
absolutely. One of my favorite stories, and it's really recent, was one of our recruiters was sitting on site with a client. The client was just really unwilling to look at anyone who didn't have a background in energy and the exact experience, but because the rack there just wasn't any available talent. Finally, they just said, "Hey, okay, I'll look at different skills." And we brought someone early in career who had no resume. Frankly, it was a farm boy who worked with his dad on trucks and machinery, and then was getting an HVAC degree from Lincoln Tech, one of the community schools we work with. Ends up, taking a chance on this young man. Best hire they made the whole year, converting it full time, and now is a whole model for how they think about talent in a different way. So what I recommend to organizations, just try to think differently and take some risks, especially if you're having a hard time finding and attracting talent to your organization, because a lot of the skills you need exist in other places. We call it adjacent skills. But legacy organizations and sometimes leaders who've been doing the same thing for a long time have a hard time just taking that risk, but I promise you it'll pay off. There's some incredible talent out there.
Can you share an example of an energy project where talent strategy was a make or break factor? And what did you do differently that made it succeed?
Yeah, this is it's a really great story from last summer. We had a wind energy manufacturer come to us with a really big challenge. They had to hire upwards of 600, 800 people a quarter for 3 to 4 quarters. And they had been at it for about a quarter and were having a really hard time. I mean, they were 75% short of their quota. And they weren't short of resources around there. So they had other staffing firms in there trying to help them out. So what we did was we went in and we just really started to look at every step of the recruiting process. And what we found were a couple of things. First, and this is relevant in the renewables sector, you're often in rural environments, especially through manufacturing. Sometimes, because of the cyclicality of your industry, you have to lay folks off or let folks go. And communities remember things. People remember things. So
Yeah.
sometimes because of decisions organizations have made in the past, it can really hurt your brand in certain communities. And then the way they were going about recruiting was they were bringing in groups of people, 20 at a time, 30 at a time, 40 at a time, and just doing like line level interviews, which is very common in like old manufacturing environments. But these days, candidates really don't like that approach. They want that individual attention. They want to feel like they're working for something important. So you really have this opportunity. And the third thing, they just weren't willing to look at skills that maybe didn't have that perfect background or experience in their sector, even though the work wasn't actually necessary to do the manufacturing work they're going to do. So what we did was we came in and we overhauled everything. First, we just said, all right, no more of these cattle call interview processes. We're going to talk to every single candidate. We're going to talk to them about the work you're doing and what it's going to do for the economy, for renewable energy. It is really a great mission-oriented organization, and that worked. And then what we started to do is we got into the community. We started to listen to people. We went to high schools. We rebuilt the culture of the organization, conversation by conversation. And within 1 quarter, not a single unfilled rec, 600 people placed, and at the end of the project it was 1,400 people placed, no issues. And it's just a great example. The small things your organization might be doing that aren't candidate focused or community focused can really hurt your outcomes, if you don't remember that legacy. And we see it all the time. Companies get used to doing the same things all the time, from assessment to the talent they're willing or not willing to look at, to the time they spend in their communities with community colleges, schools, all types of community organizations, and it can really impact the success of your talent attraction.
It's interesting how you mentioned earlier how these these projects tend to take place in rural communities,
Yeah.
which is very true. I mean, because you need the space to do that, and it's establishing those relationships within and working with people. With your work that you do in Canada and globally, you've noted earlier strong demand for IT and digital talents. How does this trend connect specifically with the energy sector?
Yeah, and I get this question a lot, and we actually get this question from, folks, younger folks who are going in to just thinking about what education should I get
Yeah,
post high school. We get it from people that are, maybe looking at everything going on in the world and going, should I change careers?
right.
And what we're actually seeing isn't an increase in demand for like coding jobs or technical IT roles. I call it an increase in demand for tool belt tech. So technicians,
Right.
engineers, people that are technical, but not necessarily what you think about as traditional IT. And it's really fascinating. We're seeing huge spikes in demand for engineers, technicians, data center technicians, semiconductor
Well, energy
technicians.
modelers, like
Yeah,
like
you think traditional manufacturing just in a
yeah,
much more complex way. What we're seeing in the job descriptions and what we are recommending to people is you don't need to go get a 4-year degree in software engineering, but anything that you're doing, try to bring a digital aptitude to it. So it's just a simple thing, and I recommend this to anyone. Really pushing it hard with my kids. Use the AI, use ChatGPT, use Copilot, use it, because you can start to realize it's a partner in things that you're going to do on a day-to-day basis. And we're seeing that a lot in the energy sectors. A lot of the technology people are working with doesn't require deep coding skills, but certainly requires digital aptitude and the ability to use generative AI, machine learning at your fingertips to help you to get your job done. And that's what we believe is going to happen at scale. Is most jobs will require AI or digital aptitude, but we're going to be augmenting the AI with our skill set and our knowledge. Certainly, we don't see anytime soon AI or a robot climbing a 300-foot wind farms.
no, yeah.
Uh, but how that work gets done will become very digital, and is already become very digital and AI enabled in nature.
Well, I find it so fascinating, Isaac, how, just a couple of years ago, people were kind of leery of AI and kind of hands off about it. And now that there's a trend that's shifting to, it's going to support us, especially in energy.
Yeah, just from my own personal experience, and I've I've brought AI into my work. I've brought it into my life. I've brought it into my coaching with my young kids. It's an incredible learning tool. It's an incredible tool to solve problems and to ideate. And that's what we're encouraging people do is learn those skills, learn how to interact and problem solve with digital technology and AI. Don't feel like you have to go figure out how to code these things. We're actually seeing those
It
jobs
saves
decrease and the
time.
physical
Yeah.
technology jobs increase. And we know that those jobs will become enablers of AI and digital solutions through their core expertise, which is the engineering and the technical expertise, not the like deep code expertise that
Yeah.
people think that's what they need and they really don't.
It's good to know. What advice would you give to professionals currently in the energy industry who want to future proof their career? And I guess what skills or experiences should they focus on that would be appealing to an employer?
Yeah, first and foremost, lean into your technical depth and aptitude. What we're seeing is while these industries are changing and becoming more technical, core of what they do, the engineering core, it is not changing in a dramatic way. So lean into that. To pick up AI and digital fluency. And again, it doesn't mean you have to go and get a software engineering degree, but
Right.
try to embed AI and digital experiences into your work. Push for that type of training through your employers. And if it's not there, ChatGPT is now the number one app in the world. So you have it at your fingertips if you choose to use it. Don't use it like Google, like really get into it and help you solve some problems. And the third is really be adaptable. What we are seeing, and this won't change, especially in the age of information, things are changing quickly. So you have to be really adaptable and collaborative with teams and organizations to succeed. And that's actually the top thing we're seeing the growth for is collaboration and collaboration skills, some of these softer skills in environments where you're working with so many different people on problems or opportunities for an organization. Collaboration is becoming just such a critical skill.
Hmm. How do you see the role of the workforce slash talent strategy? How do you see it all influencing the pace or the success of decarbonization efforts? You need the people to make these projects go ahead. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, workforce strategy equals decarbonization pace.
right?
Yeah, it just does. I talked about the stats already. 76% in Canada
Yeah,
struggling to find the talent they need. We know that that is just going to increase and increase. AI is going to push energy demand much further than I think any of us can yet predict. But the current predictions are really staggering. So do not wait to figure out this fact, which is scarce talent, skills that you need don't exist on paper. So go find these pockets of talent that are really going to help you grow your organization and start working with partners and not just staffing partners, your community partners, your community schools. One of the biggest success areas that we're having is we're spending a lot of time when we're partnering with clients that I talked about before, going into high schools and talking to young individuals about energy, renewable energy in the organizations that we represent. Even if you get one or two people interested a week, that starts to compound over time. If you wait until you need
yeah,
1,200 people in a quarter, it's gonna be harder to do. So I would be proactive in your communities and finding those adjacent skills you need. If you can't find those adjacent skills, there's a lot of great organizations. One of them, I always say our superpower is our data set. So you think about 75 countries, all this data we have on people and jobs and trends. We can quickly help you identify little pockets of adjacent skills or communities with adjacent skills that the hidden talent that I talked about earlier on the farm that can really make a difference in your hiring strategies, especially when you're constrained. Um, the faster we can upskill and mobilize talent, though, the faster energy transition will occur. Um,
exactly.
and uh, and I just don't wait.
Yeah. Listen, Isaac, it was wonderful talking to you today, and thanks for your insights. I know this whole field, this whole podcast was kind of created from curiosity and fascination about net zero and the ways we need to get there. And definitely, talent is is one way we're going to get there. So,
Well, I appreciate you having me. What I've found works is these types of networks and hearing from other organizations and other partners on what's working. Sometimes these challenges can feel personal, or like, oh, maybe it's just my organization. I promise you, it's not. So hopefully, I gave some advice that helps today, and really excited to support your
yeah,
podcast.
wonderful. Thanks for sharing. Take care.
You as well. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. If today's discussion sparked ideas about your own team or career path, take the next step and explore more conversations at reimagineenergy.com. Each episode brings you practical insights from people pushing the industry forward. Join me again next week as we keep unpacking how energy is being reimagined and what it means for you. I'm your host, Maria McGowan. Thanks for listening in.